For those that can't be with us this morning, I'm so grateful that so many will listen later this afternoon or tomorrow. Oh, Marley, girl, I get it. Yes, yes, yes. It's funny because even with me, I was with two of my kiddos yesterday, and they're young adults. They don't have to spend time with me at all. But in the midst of it, there was a little bit of grumpiness, and you just have to say, you know what? They just got a lot going on, right? There's a lot going on in those little minds, and it's kind of like my little 1-year-old grandson. Whenever he has his little fits, there's a lot of feelings in there that you're trying to figure out. And so our kiddos do the same thing at their ages. They still are trying to figure out some stuff, and we are here to love them unconditionally. But I'm so thrilled that you are with me this morning because there are big things going on every single month, every single week. How many of you guys got to be on Virtual Express? I will be putting the recording on Passionate Pursuit. I'm so glad, Dawn. I'll be putting that out there this morning for you even to maybe go back, because there was some really great information that you might want to go back and grab some notes on. But there is just some goodness that is happening. And always when we get into this space and we start moving into summer, even though it's kids out of school and vacations, there's a reset a lot of times for families and for mamas. And we see our businesses adjust. And so those things are happening. And as they're going on, I've thought a lot. And I've thought a lot about my business and where I am and where is my mind in the midst of it. You've heard me say so many times that we can go through peaks and valleys, highs and lows. It's not just about network marketing, it's business, it's life, it's seasons. It's all of it. That is how God has created us. That's how he moves us. It's in churches. It's everywhere. There's highs, there's lows, there's good, there's hard, there's celebration, there's grieving. And in the midst of those things, we have to learn how that when we have resistance, how to have resilience. And it's something that I'm really working through in my business right now, in my ministry right now. And I'm having to coach myself on a lot of different things. And I want you to know that for all of us, whether you're a diamond in the company and you say Ruby's my spot or senior Ruby's my spot, I want everyone to know it. To do this business, you don't have to go to the top. So I want you to hear that. But this is also what I want you to hear. 7.5 years diamond or 3 months trying to get to silver. It doesn't matter where you are in there, you're growing. There's hardship. You're trying to figure it out. You're building your character. I've said so many times, I feel like that the Lord brought me into this business to build my character, and he was gracious to give me a paycheck with it. But in all my time of serving him, of loving him, of getting to know him, of asking to be used by him, I feel like he was like, let's put you into this industry because this is where we're really going to build that character. This is where you're really going to depend on me. This is where you're really going to know what it means to have resilience and to have commitment and understand your purpose. And I'm grateful for that. And there are times where it makes my heart sad that we don't build that resilience muscle to keep moving forward. We quit. And so often we quit right before breakthrough, or we quit right before God is about to show himself in a way that we haven't seen. I always say that whenever we go through hardship, when we go through points of grieving, whether that's a loss of family or business or dream or marriage or anything, there is a character of God that we haven't seen, or we see it more deeply in the midst of that. And if we didn't have that, even though it's hard, we wouldn't be able to have the ability to even fall more in love with him and to see his love and his protection and his provision without that. And that's what I think about in this business, is that there's so many times I'm like, she quit right before. If she would have just persevered. I do care about your success and my success in this business, but I care more that you know the goodness of God and his character and what he's wanting to do with you. Because this business is a means to an end. It is a tool. It is just a tool. And I say just, this tool for me has given us provision and financially blessed us and gotten us through 2020 whenever my husband didn't have a job. So it's not just, but I want us to understand that God gives us tools, and those are tools that are not the end result that he's looking for. It's a tool for the end result of us knowing him greater and more deeply. And so I want us to talk about that resistance and the resilience, that oppression. I always think about with resistance, we're always going to have opposition. We're always going to have these things that feel like that everything is not in our favor. We're going to have those times when we're like, is God really there? Does he really like, is this business really for me? How many times have you said, I still know if this business, I don't know if this is for me. It's because you're dealing with opposition. It's because you've got things coming up against you that feels like this just isn't the right fit. And a couple of years ago, we read a book. I wish I could think about it. It just came to my mind. It was about quitting and how often we're like professional quitters because we're like, I don't think that worked. I'm going to jump over here and maybe I will do this. Maybe I'll become, somebody that takes care of kiddos, or I'll go back to teaching, or I'll, start cooking for families. And then we do that and we have opposition. We go, I don't think that that one's for me, because we just want pleasure. We want comfort. We don't want any oppression. We don't want any of that opposition. I think so much in ministry, and this is business ministry to so many of us, we're going to have opposition. But even if you're not a believer, even if you don't see this business from a ministry standpoint, which is great and fine and wonderful, you're still going to have opposition. And so it's whenever it feels hard and heavy and like you're just walking through quicksand. And tell me if you have felt this way, that as soon as you sit down to work, it feels hard and you just don't even know where to start. Or whenever it's like, I really need to write a post, and this is kind of what's in my heart and kind of the theme of what I want to say. But whenever you get ready to write it authentically, it's hard and you can't come up with the words, and then you just quit and you stop. Whereas if you would have sat there and really wrestled with it, it could be a post that really impacted and changed someone's life. So you have to kind of look at those end results of what that commitment is to be able to push through that. And I really think to be able to do that, you have to be a woman, a man of resilience, of character, of realizing that you have a choice every time you have opposition, every time you say, I don't think that this is favorable for me. I don't think I have the skill set for this. I don't think that I have the personality for this. They're successful because of, I really want you to come back and sit back and say, I have a choice in every bit of this. I get to choose what my thoughts are, what my posture is, if I'm going to quit, if I'm going to push through. You have that ability to become resilience and to build that. And whenever I say resilience, I'm talking about recovering, like quickly overcoming something. And we're going to talk about feelings. I mean, I want you, Kristen Boss always says to me, like, sit in those feelings. I'm not telling you not to sit in the feelings and to blow them off and just plow through, but allowing yourself to sit in that feeling, but also overcoming it, because you have choice in those circumstances and you have a choice to view those circumstances differently. And so being able to see that and see that if you will use your resilience muscle, that it is growth. Because anytime we're in that resistance mode and we feel like we have opposition against us, guys, it actually means we're growing. It means that we are improving, that we have to, I always think about, I'm part of a church plant, and we talk about the growth spurts, and the growth spurts are hard. And even like the baby incubator and moving in, there's opposition of location and where's it going to be, and having the right staff and all those different pieces that come with that, and being able to come against that and know that that's part of growing. And actually, this is a good thing. It means I'm improving and I'm getting better whenever I see those things. So I want you to be able to think about that and realize that there is a way for you to not get knocked down, for you to not say, I'm going to quit. I'm emotionally spent. I'm not doing this anymore. And there's so much that can go into that. But we're going to focus just in one spot, because I want you to know, as we are going through this month and we continue to just share about growing that 10% to 15%. I've talked about that for years now, of really looking at your numbers and at your growth and really challenging yourself to grow. But another thing that we have talked so much about this year, and I think Michelle even spoke about it last week in either a training or a Power 30. I feel like we've all got these pieces, and I'm like, where did I hear that? But I do believe that she talked about, just our mission and our vision of helping families. Definitely men are in this business, but so much of the majority for us are those women, but helping them find freedom in that, getting, that $500 to get those products paid for. That she talked about that on Thursday night for our info event that was so good. So if you didn't see it and you're listening to this, I want you to go back and watch that recording, because I think that you will get filled with some more belief and some inspiration. But as we're doing that, as we're saying, I really want to help families receive $500 a month and have freedom in financially being blessed to pay for their products. We don't want anyone left behind. Whenever we want people to take 60 to 90 days to take these products, we also want to give them a way in their budget to do that as they build belief. And that's not leaving someone behind, right? That is helping them see how they can do it and how they can be blessed. I think this month it's like 521 in bonuses. I'm saying that off the top of my head, somewhere in there. That is giving them over 2 months of getting those products paid for. As we're doing that, we need to realize, as we're growing in how to share with them, how to help them, we might have some opposition with that, right? And so seeing that and not quitting, but seeing the importance of pushing through in those things. And whenever we do have those setbacks, or we do feel like that we failed in some way, we can quickly recover. And it really is, guys, all about your thoughts. It's all about your mindset. But two different things that I think that we have to have is that deep, just that grittiness of determination, of just being firm in the belief that you are doing and that you are where you're supposed to be, and to stick and to let it stay and to push up against that, to really have that firmness of belief, but then also to have this incredible courage, the courage to keep going and to step out. It's I think Kristen Voss calls it a spirited determination. And I love that, this spirited determination to keep going. And sometimes we have to inspire ourselves. But I know for me, oftentimes I really do have to sit back and reset myself and remind myself why I do what I do. And y'all have seen me do it, because I ask you guys questions all the time. I have to ask myself questions. I have to ask myself why and when and what, and really pull it back so that I can have that spirited determination to keep going. And to remind myself, you're right where you're supposed to be. Don't look at opposition and resistance as saying you shouldn't be here. Look at it as saying you're doing great. God's building your character. Let's keep moving forward. Let's keep having that growth mindset. And so I wanted us to look at a couple of different ways that we can actually do that. And the first one is what I just shared with you, that courage, that spirited determination to be able to have the courage to keep moving forward, even when it's hard, even when it's hard. And I think the big thing for us is to have even when in our vocabulary. I mean, we so often in Plexus say what if, right? We bring out this what if for people to have vision, but I think for us as business owners, we need to have the even when, that I will be courageous even when. Y'all have heard me say so often I have to coach myself on different things, and I'm getting ready at the end of actually I think it's next weekend. I'm not a planner, as many of y'all know. I'm like, I'm just working through today. Let me just get through today. But I'm pretty sure it's at the end of next week. And I'm having to coach myself on being courageous in some different things, of saying, hey, I'm welcome at the table and I deserve a seat at the table, and being able to work through that. So doing that in your even wins, and not saying, man, this is too hard. Whenever we say this is too hard, we become very mediocre, and we live a mediocre life. And I don't know that the God of the universe that created all things, created his people in his image, created us to be mediocre, because I don't think mediocre is even in God's definition of who he is and his character. And if I am created in his image, he has not called me to resist, to pull back, to quit in the midst of hard. He's called me to be courageous and powerful and authoritative because he is, and he is also compassionate and good. So thinking through those things. The second thing is choice. You get to choose in every circumstance. When something is hard and we're like, this, I am walking through like quicksand right now. I feel like I am just dredging through the mud. We need to understand that every circumstance is neutral. What happens is we put our thoughts around it, we put our perspective around it, and we have a choice in the midst of all of it. Choosing is it is the most powerful thing that God's given us. We're the only species that he's given choice to, that he's given imagination to. My dogs don't have imagination. They don't, well, they think they have choices, but they don't know. We were talking about, do our dogs even know time? Like, do they know? I mean, they're excited if we're gone for 5 minutes or for 5 hours. We, as God's people that are made in his image, have the ability of imagination and of choice. But oftentimes we use our imagination to the negative. And we bring in these thoughts that are totally against us and not for us. What if you chose today to start making choices around your neutral circumstances that are actually for you? What if things that go wrong that you feel like are opposition, and you begin to label yourself as being a failure or not knowing enough and this isn't worth it for you, of actually choosing to see those things to grow you and to make you better and to build you up versus it pulling you down. So courage is number one, choice is number two, of us really building these muscles so that we can have resilience and be able to have the fullness of it. How you choose your circumstance and how you see those circumstances, guys, it determines your outcome. You're either going to quit or you're going to keep going. So you choose wisely how you see those circumstances. The next thing is curiosity. And curiosity, I love this. I haven't thought how to do this, honestly, until I started having this coaching that I'm in the midst of. And the curiosity is seeing a circumstance as neutral, not labeling it negative or positive, but just neutral, and then being curious around it. So if you are stuck, or if you do have someone that's ghosting you, or you aren't sure how to get yourself moving in the mornings to be able to be your most productive, I want you to be curious around the circumstance that is neutral and ask questions around it. It's kind of like what I was telling you, how I drill down. I have to get myself moving forward, I have to go backwards, right? Like I have to sit down and pause for a minute whenever I feel like that there's opposition, or I feel like it's hard, or I feel like I'm stuck. And I become curious as to why. And if you will give yourself minutes and moments to do that, I really do believe your day would look different. Your business would look different. The projects that you're having to do would look different. So, being curious around your circumstances and asking the questions, ask good questions. Ask how and when and why. The next is compassion. And I love this because it's compassion for yourself. Compassion that whenever you're in opposition, knowing that that resistance means that you're actually growing and that you're coming to a point of breakthrough, giving yourself permission to even feel some of that, to allow yourself to go, this is hard. Or, for me, there's a lot of times that I go, like, I might feel like I failed, or I feel like I'm not good enough. And whenever I have curiosity around that, it actually allows me to have permission to feel it, but not to stick it, right? Like you can feel it and move forward versus feeling it and getting stuck. And so having that compassion and that permission to say, it's a process that I'm going through and I'm going to trust the process. I'm in the midst of that right now as I grow. I'm growing my network. Doing this for 7.5 years, I don't have that same warm market that some of you are blessed with. Be grateful for it. Be grateful. Um, and in the midst of it, I'm having opposition. And I'm having to learn that that resistance is actually good for me. And it doesn't mean quit. It doesn't mean that it's not working. It doesn't mean that social media is not my friend. It means that I'm learning and I'm growing and I'm going to adjust and I'm going to see what works and what doesn't work. And I'm going to give myself compassion through that. I'm not going to call myself an idiot or too old or not smart enough or not pretty enough or not funny enough in reels. I'm going to be compassionate towards myself and give myself permission to work through the process. And so I want you to do that. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is commitment and conviction. Like having a commitment and that determination. I talked about that grittiness of just that determined, firm, courageous foundation that you have, having an unshakable belief that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, that you're working with the people that you need to be working with, an unshakable belief that more people are coming into your net. I get excited whenever I pray about people that I don't see right now. They're invisible to me, but they are very visible and present to God. And I always think about a parade going down the street. As y'all know, I'm on the second floor, so I look down at my neighborhood. And so I can only see when a car comes by. Sometimes I can hear the car, but I can't see the car until it's in my window pane and then it's gone, even though it's still going down the street. I think about that like with a parade. Whenever our kids were young and we would go to parades, we would only see the floats right in front of us and maybe the top of the next float, but we couldn't see the fullness of the parade. We couldn't see from where it started to where it ended and see the fullness of the beauty of the floats. But God can. God can see it all. He can see what's coming around the corner. He can see what just went out of your sight. Believing whenever you're like, these are my goals, God. This is how I want to grow my territory. I'm praying for you to increase my influence, increase my impact, increase my territory. You have to have an unshakable belief that He will. And whenever we're on and off, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out, that is not commitment. You can't be commitment for 1 hour and be on Power 30 and the rest of your day be non-committal and go, I don't know. I'm kind of doubting this. In scripture, that talks about you like not, you're on the sand that is shifting. And He says, I want you to be rooted down as a deep tree that cannot move when the storms come. We can't do that if we're not building our character, and He uses resistance and opposition to test and to build. What if you looked at your circumstances differently, right? And say, God is for me in this. He's not joking. He's not a jokester. He didn't put me in this and say, put all your eggs in this basket right now for me to fail and not have a way to provide for my family. I need to see what's happening in the circumstances, and I have a choice as to how I'm going to view it and how I'm going to move through the process. And that's where that conviction comes into. Remembering and having that unshakable belief and conviction that God's created me in His image. He's called me here to impact. He's given me the tool to do it. He's blessed me with the tool. If I'll be consistent and committed, He's blessed me to provide for me through this tool. And I am fully in unshakable belief that this is for me. And I'm committed to moving forward with it. So I hope that that was helpful for you. I want us to understand the beauty of being resilient. I hope that we can have that character trait about us, that we have this gritty determination and courageousness, and that we have that spirited determination to make it through. You guys, thank you so much for being with me this morning. I hope you have an incredible Monday, and I will see you at the next Power 30. Talk to y'all later.